Hello, my name is Joseph Pirayo. I want to welcome you to today's program. In the beginning, Ashur. Uh, as always, thank you for watching. You can catch us on Rumble, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, X. Also, you can go to assyriatv.com and we have something close to 6,000 videos of different programmings that you can see. And last but not least, we are live streaming on Assyria TV and AGN TV Live. Okay, today's program. So this is part two of last week, the 1700 year anniversary of the Nicene Council that was celebrated in the city of Nicaea, and Pope and all these patriarchs that they went there to celebrate that 1700 years ago. They had this first, what they call ecumenical council. This guy's not doing good, right? Better? Ah. Anyway, so on the ecumenical council that happened 1700 years ago, they were so proud. They gathered together. Yet, as I mentioned on the flyer, fall of Christianity. And somebody was asking, what do you mean by fall of Christianity? Well, before I answer that, I have a question. I know the audience out there that you're watching this program, some of you are patriots. They are that you believe in our future, in our nation, in our name, and you don't really care much about Christian faith. And by the way, some of you guys think that Christian faith is the cause that we are not united. And there are other group that watch this program that you are Christian, they go and you go to church. I have a question to ask my Christian brothers and sisters is that do you get excited that Sunday is coming, you want to go to church, like you can't wait? And by excited, I don't mean that there is that social time that you spend with friends after the church. It's fun. People looking forward to it. I'm not talking about that. Just excited to go to church. Or some people are excited. We have these special days: Christmas, Easter, the bazaars, the food. There's like breakfast. There's lunch. You get excited. We go, yeah, we go see some people. We attend the mass or the service. Then we have food. Excited about that. Or there is a part that people go for the Holy Qurbana to just receive that because Jesus Christ said, "You do this in my honor." And that's not the part I'm talking about regarding being excited to go to church. Like, you can't wait. Like, Sunday comes, I'm going to go to church. I'm going to learn about my faith. I'm going to re energize, it's like, I can't wait. I don't know how many of you feel that way, that if you go to church every Sunday, you're excited about this, or used to be excited about this because it's kind of related to what I mean by the fall of Christianity, is that some years back, I used to live in Los Angeles from 1983 to 1986, and there is a city called Fullerton, and I was living there, my cousins, some friends, and it was this Friday or Saturday. They said Sunday we're going to our church. He's an American preacher or teacher, whatever they call them. And they said it's in Glendale, California. We're going to go there. Then we're going to go for lunch. And I got excited. I said, okay, I got that part. And I said, okay, what's going on? They said it's an Easter Sunday. We're going to go to that church in Glendale. After that, we're going to go have lunch. It's a nice place, Armenian, this and that. So the map that you see is this is Los Angeles and Orange County. The city you see, Fullerton, is in Orange County, and Glendale is like northern part of Los Angeles. So the drive, about 33 and a half miles, about 54 kilometers. And the 48 minutes that it says here, it depends. Sometimes 1 hour, hour and a half, maybe 48 minutes. Especially Sundays. This is 1985, so like 40 years ago. the traffic was still pretty bad back then as it is now. So I got excited not for going to the church. I got excited about going to have good food after. Then they told me it's a 2 hour service. I was like, wow, this is crazy, 2 hours. But I said it's Easter and it's going to be fun. Most of these places they put shows, not Easter, yeah, Easter celebration. They would bring, maybe people acting, what they do during the Easter time. So some churches have all of these. Anyway, make the story short, I went there and there was nothing. They had no specific shows about Easter. There were no like kids, doing performing stuff or anything that resembled the way I used to go to our churches when they had services for Easter. All it was, there was this old guy for like 10, 15 minutes. They had what they call worship. He sang a song, did a prayer. He went, and this other guy came and he started talking. And that's when it hit me. It was the first time I was exposed to teaching for 1 hour, 45 minutes. Since this was Resurrection Sunday, as they called it, after that, I learned not to call it Easter, the Resurrection Sunday. And he said, let's see if this thing happened. I said, what do you mean this thing happened? He said, about resurrection. So before we approach the resurrection of Jesus Christ, first, did Jesus exist? Did Jesus exist at the time that the Bible said he exists? Is there evidence about him teaching or preaching outside of the Bible? Evidence that he was crucified, put to death, evidence of resurrection. And it was like, it wasn't a preaching. It was like, wow, I was exposed to something that I didn't even think about because the subject was if Jesus is alive, it changes the whole story of the believers. Like, you know, all the people that I know that are no longer with us, physically, they are dead, they will live again. All of us, there is a time coming that this body is going to expire and we're going to live again if we believe in him. We, the the way I grew up, the churches that I went to, I went to the Roman Catholic Church, Pentecostal Church, Assembly of God, all of these, they never taught us. That's the point that I'm trying to get to teach us about our faith. The teach the teacher that I was exposed to, he had this series of cassette tapes. It was church history. And when I saw that Nicaea, 1700 years of uh, from the first council, I was like, wait a minute, wait a minute. There is so much has happened in these 2000 years because today when we're looking at Christianity, how much do we know about originally how it was? Are they the same? Has been continued for the past 2000 years, the same teaching, preaching. The day of the Pentecost, the first day that the church was established after Peter, it happened in Jerusalem. He came out of that house. He started talking about Jesus Christ. He told them about his history, who he was, what he did, and he's alive, resurrected. That day, 3,000 people believed in him. Today, we read it in the Bible. But back then, they did not have that book, what we call New Testament, put together so they can say, oh, okay, this is Gospel of John. I can read that. No, there was no gospel. The only thing they had was the word of mouth, telling people about the story of Jesus. Then slowly, when Paul came, they started writing letters. We have the letters to the Galatians, letter to the Romans, letters to this, letters to that. And these letters were copied and sent to different cities. And people like every week they would gather together. They have, okay, we have a note here. I can't see the whole thing. That is the correct, Rabija. We don't care about. Let that to the church lovers. Talk to us about the nation, the land, and the people of Assyria. Talk about Assyria, the fall and the rising of Assyria. We don't buy anything but the fall of Christianity. Assyria first. Well, my dear brother Johann Make Rume, if what you're saying is true, I would have done that. But what has happened, as you can see, we have three nations now because of the Christianity, because of these organized systems that have come and made us Arameans, Chaldeans, Assyrians. It just the name of Ashur is gone. You know, this has affected our nation. That's why I'm bringing this up. I mean, if you're not interested in it, that's fine. But this has direct effect on our people. Majority of our people, they are Christians, being Syriac Orthodox, Syriac Catholic, Chaldean, Assyrian Church of the East, Maronite, Old Calendar. These are the ones that comes to my mind, and all these Protestant systems that have come out. So the reason I'm bringing the church history is that back in the time, we were all one people, one faith. The Nicene Council that happened the year 325, when you're looking at our people, we were in two different empires. We were living under two different empires. The territory of Iran and Iraq of today, some of Syria maybe, or Turkey, but the rest of it, Lebanon, the rest of Jordan, Syria, the other part of Turkey, Judea, all these areas were under Roman. I mean, Christianity started when Peter was the first that started the Christian church. They started teaching, preaching about Jesus. As I mentioned, there was no books, word of mouth. There was no building called a church for people to go to. There were no what they call these celebrations that are done in churches, the Day of the Saints. I had a list over here. Just what they call it. Uh, every week they get together. The qurbana that we take, we have to go and take it from the peace priest. It was done at home by the father. There was no prayers over the bread to turn it into body of Christ, or to pray over the wine to turn it to the blood of Christ. It was a simple celebration that Jesus had said, do it in my honor, my remembrance, and it was done very simple. There were no traditions that what we see right now. It was very simple and it was flourishing. It was expanding. You know, when these people that they were the day of Pentecost in Jerusalem, as you read in the book of Acts, chapter 2, there were a lot of people from Mesopotamia, it says, from Persia, Elam, and all these things. And these people, when they went there, they just spread the news. And as we see these apostles and disciples, they go do the mission. But the first at least 100 years. Why am I saying 100 years? Because there is this called Tatian, the Assyrian. He was the one that put the four gospels together, made it like a one story. There was Pshitta that was translated by our ancestors back then in our language. It was the Old Testament, the New Testament, everything that they had at that time, mostly Gospels. The New Testament wasn't completed until 400 years after birth of Jesus Christ. So what I'm trying to show here is that first, how much do we know about our church history? Those of you that go to church, you're excited every Sunday. I go to church. What have you learned about the church history? What have you learned about the traditions that are being done right now? The ring on the what they call it, the priest or the patriarch, the way that they dress up, the way that they do the altar, the building, how to go in, touch the water, all of these things. They were none of that. Baptism of the babies, the way it's done right now, that you have to baptize the baby in the first 40 days. If not, if something happens, that baby is not baptized and dies, goes to hell. These are additions. Back then, somebody was believed, said, I want to get baptized. The whole household was baptized because they believed, old, young, whatever. But it wasn't specific on the children. As I mentioned, there was no qurbana in the church and blessings, all of these things. It was very simple and it was flourishing. Now, what's the point? As my brother Johan mentioned, that let's talk about Assyria, the rise and fall, and yeah, this is our history. See, back then, let me see, what kind of photo do we have? Can we show that? No, not Timothy. I'll get back to that later. But let's show those people. Yeah. So before Nicene Council, in the Roman Empire, when Edict of Milan was given by Constantine, there was only one denomination because they had these bishops, which I'm going to get to that later. After the Nicene Council, year 325, what happened was in Europe, they were separations, the ideologies of different people, and it was based on Jesus. Was he 100% man? Was he 100% human? God, this, that, and Nestorius. There were other people. Let me see. This they're talking about body of church being cut into separations. It says these churches fall into groups that they separated. Nestorian Church of Persia, and the five Monophysite churches of Armenia, Syria, or Jacobites, the Coptic, Ethiopia, and India. They separated. Once they got their freedom, they separated. Before their freedom, they were all one. They had a bishop. Let's go back to Timothy. Let's read Timothy. Where's Timothy? So we can see what originally was and what we have today. So that's First Timothy chapter 3, verse 1 through 7. You can read it on the screen. I'm going to read it here. It says, here's the true saying. If anyone sets his heart on being a bishop or an overseer, he desires a noble task. This is Paul writing to that guy, Timothy. Now the bishop or overseer must be above reproach, the husband of but one wife. At that time, the bishop was supposed to be married. Okay, these churches that they came later, all these traditional churches, the patriarch or the pope, they're not married. They're not supposed to be married. Of course, we had an Assyrian church of the East. There were like patriarchs that like one or two of them that were married. It wasn't a rule, but it was a tradition. But generally speaking, what we see now, if you want to become a patriarch in these Syriac, Chaldean, Assyrian church, if you want to be a patriarch, you cannot be married. You cannot get to the position of archdeacon or whatever the positions they are to get there. This is what we're reading in Timothy, the original Christianity. The people that they were bishops, they were overseers, the shepherd, whatever the title is. It says the overseer must be above reproach, the husband of but one wife, temperate, self-controlled, respectable, hospitable, able to teach, not given to drunkenness, not violent, but gentle, not quarrelsome, not a lover of money. He must manage his own family well and see that his children obey him with proper respect. If anyone does not know how to manage his own family, how can he take care of God's church? He must not be a recent convert, or he may become conceited and fall under the same judgment as the devil. He must also have a good reputation with outsiders so that he will not fall into disgrace and into the devil's trap. Same thing he writes to Titus, chapter 1, from verse, you can read that yourself, 6 to 9. This is the original faith. that was passed in, the overseer, the bishop, they were not supposed, they were supposed to be married. What happened? 300 years early church, the teachings of Paul. And who is Paul? Paul was handpicked by Jesus Christ. As I have always said, if you don't believe in Bible, don't believe in it. But don't change the story. What we see today is not what it was 1700 years ago. It was not what was taught to these people, especially our ancestors. I mentioned our ancestors became Christian in two separate empires. The ones that they were affected by, they were in the Roman Empire. Once they got their freedom, they split. Nestorian, Jacobite, and Nestorus was, he came to this other part, to the Persian Empire. And I have a book by Dr. Vigram, talks about the history. It says Introduction to the History of the Assyrian Church or the Church of the Sassanid Persian until the year 640, and talks about these people that had the position of Pope or Patriarch. He has names. There is a history. I didn't know there was that kind of history available for us before reading this book. Now, let's see. Oh, okay. Thanks. So we see here, I'm not picking on Catholic Church or any church. What I'm saying is that what we have today is different than it was 300 years ago, 1700 years ago. The first 300 years, the most blessing time. Let's go back to the Catholic one first. So this is the Roman Catholic. As you see on top, they have Pope, then cardinals, archbishops, bishops, priests, deacons, then laity, the people. See, the people are always at the bottom and everybody's sitting on them, right? And they're the more, it's more of them. There's so many, like, I don't know, 1 billion Catholics in the world, maybe more. This structure does not match what Paul was teaching Timothy and Titus. That's all I'm saying. It's not reading between the lines, but that's what it was taught back then. What we have here is an organized system. You have the Pope, and of course, Pope means father, which Jesus said, don't call any man father except your father in heaven, but that's different story. Then we come to the other hierarchy. Let's show that the orange one, which are we are more familiar. This is most probably the Syriac, Chaldean, Church of the East. All of these, they follow pretty much this structure here. So there is a patriarch on top and archbishops. I don't know how many of them. Then the other group is called metropolitan. Then we have bishop, priest, deacon. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 layers. Paul says there is only one layer, or you can call it two. There he talks about deacons also. Then the people, right? The purpose is the history of this Christianity. As I mentioned to you, that you go to church, that are you excited or not? How many of you have been taught the church history? How many of you have been taught about your faith? Not taught about what mass is, what certain days you need to do this and that, and we grow up in them and we get used to it generation after generation, and we think this is Christianity. Yet at the same time, as we see all these denominations coming up, who's Aramean? Who's Chaldean? Who's Assyrian? What happened? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You are men of God. Jesus said, the way you love each other, he gave a command, love each other as I have loved you, so the world would know that you belong to me. What kind of a love it is? Can we see that photo of those 7, 8 people standing next to each other? If, I don't know how to put it in a nice way, Jesus' command was love each other as I have loved you, to become one, that belonging to Jesus, one denomination. What happened? Why we got all these different denominations? Because after Christianity became free, Nicene Council starts. Constantine, he gives the order. Year 318, it was Edict of Milan. Christianity became legal. It was not illegal anymore. They wouldn't kill him in the Roman Empire. Then the Council of Nicaea 325 happened. He gets all these bishops from different certain areas: Antioch, Jerusalem, Alexandria, Rome. They come to, and from Constantinople at that time wasn't established, but people come over there, and the emperor is ruling over there. He's telling them what to do. Get the point? Then the next emperor, what's his name? Theodosius the First, in the year 380, what is called Edict of Thessalonica. You can check it out. By the Edict of Thessalonica, Christianity not only was legal, it became the only religion of the whole Roman Empire. What does that mean? It means that if there are the temples that they had over there, temple to Diana, temple to Zeus, temple to all these gods that they had, change them to Christian. What do you mean change them? The same rituals that we were doing, and this comes, where is that book? There's so many books here, but I think just stick to that one. Where is this? Am I showing it right? Babylon Mystery Religion. And there is another book which is even more detailed. You will love to read it. There is so much information in there, and there is so much that is in our language. That's why when I was reading the book Two Babylons, I was like, wow, our language, our history. But of course, Babylon and Ashur are not the same. All these rituals that they had in Roman Empire, they came from Babylonian tradition. They just changed names. And from Babylonian traditions, they became in the Roman Empire all these names of Zeus, Jupiter, this, and that. And they changed them to Christian names. Next week, we have Christmas, December 25th. This has nothing to do with the birth of Jesus Christ. These are from the previous, before Christianity, those pagan rituals that they were practiced in Roman Empire, they took that day and all these other days. What they call Easter, what they call it, Spring Festival. So many things they changed. What we see now, all these traditions, what they call Saints' Day, oh, this is feast of Saint James or Saint John, Saint Matthew, Saint this, Saint that. All of these, they had different names for. So when the Edict of Thessalonica came in the year 380, this is when Roman Empire by force became a Christian nation that was following the pagan traditions that they had, and they Christianized them. It's just church history. You don't believe me? Go research it. Then 1 year later, in the year 381, they have the second council, church council. This is when the stuff hits the fan. They're just talking about different personalities of Jesus. Was he God? Was he human? They come up with these philosophies. Then they start cursing each other, calling each other's name, and separating. That's when we have all these Maronite, Nestorian, Jacobite, whatever you want to call them. They are split. First 300 years were the most blessing. Now, in the Roman Empire, Nicaea came and killed, it was the fall of Christianity then. Yet our ancestors in the Persian Empire were doing fine. But once Rome became Christian, the Christian subjects in the Persian Empire started getting persecuted, specifically by a king called Shapur II. That's for the next program. We just finished the councils. But The thing is that when we look back, originally, when the faith started, our people in two different empires, under two different empires, became Christian. They still were one people, one denomination, no problems. Then Roman Empire does this. Then after that, Christianity becomes Roman Empire. Then the persecution started in Persian Empire. Next thing you know, all these different people with philosophy separated each other. Today, our nation that started so beautiful, Chaldean, Aramaya, Syriac, Assyrian, Aturaya, confusion of identity and separation. That's what has affected us. Now, the question is, how can we go back to the original form? Because we were one people, one denomination. Is there any hope? Definitely. What it is, I don't know. But before we go to find a solution, first we have to find what the bleep happened that we got us here, right? First, you have to know what the problem is. Then, solutions, people together. But that's what happened. What we see now as what is called Christian faith, plus what is these, what they call them, Protestants. I didn't talk about that system. It's no better, affecting our people. I believe in my people. I believe in the future of Ashur. I believe one day we will get that land back. How? I don't know. Identity is the most important for me, Ashur. So, until next program, thank you for watching. Chaya Ashur, Ahaya Ashur Chaya. Blessed be Ashur, the work of God's hand. Chaya Ashur, Mabqila, thank you. See you next time. Bye bye.
شيخاني